In today's fight news, we start off with lightweight contender Arman Tsarukyan making an appearance on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani. During his episode, Tsarukyan had a few things to say about his UFC 300 opponent, Charles "Do Bronx" Oliveira. Tsarukyan stated, "The best case scenario is I beat Charles Oliveira in the first round, and the fight with Islam in the summer or whatever." When asked how he saw the fight going, Tsarukyan had this to say, "My prediction is a finish in the first round, TKO." In another interview with Red Corner MMA, Arman Tsarukyan had this to say about his opponent, Oliveira. "Charles is good at one thing, taking his opponent's back and choking him out from that position. But overall, he's nothing special." Do Bronx later clapped back during an interview with MMA Fighting, stating, "I guess the knockouts I have weren't knockouts, they were submissions? It's too much bullshit they talk. I also heard I'm not hungry, that I don't want it anymore. He doesn't know how bad I want to become champion again." Oliveira was also asked who he prefers next, a title shot with champion Islam Makhachev or a big money fight with superstar Conor McGregor. His response, "I would absolutely go with Conor because of the money." In other fight news, while doing an interview with Mike Bond, BMF champion Justin Gaethje says he struggles to see any scenario where he beats Max Holloway at UFC 300 and then does a quick turnaround to fight Islam Makhachev for the title 7 weeks later. Per Gaethje, ideally, they're calling this Oliveira-Tsarukyan fight a title eliminator, so the winner of that fight fights Islam in June. Then I fight the winner of that in preferably Madison Square Garden in November. We'll see if Oliveira the bet again. I think if Tsarukyan wins, he takes it because they are calling this a title eliminator, so whoever wins is going to have to fight that fight. Per the Mac Life, former featherweight king Alexander Volkanovski gives his take on the BMF title match between Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway. "We can't forget Max Holloway's chin. I think it's just an undefeated chin. It really is. I've tried cracking it. Many people have tried cracking it. And thinking, is Justin Gaethje going to be the guy to finish it? I don't know. You know Max ain't going to tire. 5-rounder? Look, man, I have to lean towards Gaethje, but, man, I thought the odds were going to be worse. Holloway has a massive chance. I'm going to say for my pick will be Max Holloway." While speaking to Shaq MMA, light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira was asked his comparisons between upcoming UFC 300 opponent and former light heavyweight champion Jamal Hill and his previous opponent and also former light heavyweight champion Jiri Prochazka. "I think Jiri is more accurate and precise in his strikes. Jamal Hill has a little more advantage in his power, which makes him dangerous too. But when you talk about skill level, Jiri Prochazka is superior." Speaking of sweet dreams, Jamal Hill, while speaking to Kevin Iole, he had this to say in regards to champion Alex Pereira training with his former opponent, Glover Teixeira, stating, "In that fight against Glover, what did they do that worked? So what does he know?" Alluding to the fact that he dominated Teixeira in that matchup. On a side note, per MMA Orbit, they posted that Jamal Hill is 3-0 against Brazilians throughout his career. During his appearance on the MMA Hour, featherweight contender Calvin Kattar was asked his opinions on his upcoming UFC 300 opponent, Aljamain Funkmaster Sterling. "He's a former champ, that's great. You need tough opposition to get these big moment opportunities. Shout out to him for making this fight happen on such a historic card." The former bantamweight king shared his thoughts for his matchup with Kattar on his YouTube channel, stating, "I don't really foresee myself finishing him in the first round. I'm going to say second round submission. I think I get him out there with the submission and possibly an anaconda choke." It looks like there's no love lost still between lightweight contenders Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier, as Chandler recently responded to a quote on MMA Fighting in which Chandler stated, the old quote-unquote I'd rather sell hot sauce vibe, in which the Diamond clapped back saying, "Remember when I whipped your ass?" And Chandler responded, "He just can't help himself. Calm down, champ. Life ain't that serious. Whip my ass, you did not, and you know it. I got caught. It happens in this game, as you well know." The interim heavyweight champion, Tom Aspinall, recently made an appearance on the MMA Hour in which he spoke on meeting with the UFC in the coming week to talk about his next fight. He also said he will be in attendance at the UFC 300 event on Saturday. During the interview, the interim champion said that Ciryl Gane is ducking him on more than one occasion, and he also said that he's ducked Sergey Pavlovich, and that is the reason why he got that fight in the first place, as well as Curtis Blades. Former bantamweight champion Cody No Love Garbrandt says he has no issues being the opening fight for the big UFC 300 card against former flyweight champion Davison Figueiredo. Garbrandt stated that this is a testament to his quote-unquote drawing power. Per Aaron Bronstetter, all 26 UFC 300 fighters will be present at both the media day on Wednesday and the press conference on Thursday. Per Amy Kaplan on X, there will be a new UFC glove launch presentation on Friday after the official weigh-ins. It's unclear if this will be special branded gloves for the event or actually a new design of the gloves. Per MMA Junkie, UFC 300 Fight Week is upon us, and @John Anik is set to lead commentary on Fight Night. Enjoy it because, quote-unquote, nothing is guaranteed if he still be working at UFC 400. Per MMA Junkie, the UFC 300 broadcast team is set, featuring John Anik, Joe Rogan, and Daniel Cormier. After his close split decision loss this past weekend at UFC Fight Night, middleweight contender Chris the Action Man Curtis recently posted this news on X. "Not the news I wanted. Grade 3 tear in my hamstring. Waiting on more info. F me." Per his Instagram account, the notorious Conor McGregor shared some new footage of him sparring and also a new picture of his current shape. While speaking to the Coach in the Casual podcast, middleweight contender Paulo Costa said this: "Sean Strickland said no. Strickland refused to fight me. That's what the UFC told me. I just have this information from the UFC. I think the fight would be great. I would love to fight him." In which Strickland responded on his Instagram, "I never say no. I say how much." Now to a few updates to the UFC women's strawweight rankings. Up one spot to number 7, Mackenzie Dern. Down one spot to number 8, Amanda Ribas. And in the women's bantamweight rankings, up 2 spots, Norma Dumont. Down one spot to number 10, Hani Kinzat. And down one spot to number 11, Yana Santos. And for the UFC women's pound-for-pound rankings, up one spot to number 7, Rose Namajunas. Down 2 spots to number 8, Erin Blanchfield. Lastly, we finish off with some fight announcements. M. Muradov is out of his matchup with Michel Pereira and will now fight Ior Potieria at UFC 301 on May 4th. At women's strawweight, Piera Rodriguez has a new fight day and she'll be taking on Ariane Carnelosi on May 18th. At men's flyweight, Sumadarji taking on Joshua Van at UFC 302 in Newark, New Jersey. Middleweights, Andre Muniz and Ikram Aliskerov will face each other at the UFC Vegas 93 event on June 15th. Also on the UFC Vegas 93 card, heavyweight and former champion Andrei Arlovsky will be taking on Martin Boudet. At the UFC Saudi Arabia card, we have featherweights Muhammad Naimov versus Melsik Baghdasaryan. At women's flyweight, Viviane Araújo versus Jasmine Jasudavicius on July 13th. Per Matt Frivola's X account, Michael Johnson is out of his matchup with Frivola, which was originally scheduled for May 11th at the UFC St. Louis event. UFC is now looking for a new opponent to replace Johnson.